Hello, I'm Bonnie Browning, the Executive Show Director for the American Quilter Society, and I'm here today with Andrea Ray, our contest coordinator. And you know, we see thousands of quilts every single year, and they get shipped to us in a whole variety of ways. So we decided that we would show you some things that you could do and that maybe you shouldn't do when you pack your quilts to send them to a show. So I brought in a whole variety of my quilts from my collection, and I boxed them up several weeks ago, so they've laid around in a box for a while like your quilts would. And so now Andrea and I are going to open these up, and we're going to talk about how I packed them and show you what it looks like when we put it on the wall. Let's start with the first one. Okay, so this quilt, and you'll notice every time you open a box, they're all packed in plastic, a plastic bag. This is the one time you should use a plastic bag on your quilt, because sometimes these boxes get wet. So we're going to just take it out of the box. And so you can see that we have folded this one right sides together, haven't we?
Correct.
Okay. And so we're going to hang this quilt so that you can see what happens, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, so now we've hung this quilt on the wall, and we folded it so that we had right sides together. What you get when you do that, the very first fold that you do is the hardest crease that you put in your quilt. So you can see the crease here, you can see the crease here, because we didn't protect it in any way. Let's look at the next one. Okay, now we're ready to look at quilt number 2. Now, one thing I want to show you about this box, and that is that you want your box to be pretty full when you get it done. So if it isn't, then that's a good time to put some bubble wrap or some of the other, not peanuts. Nobody wants peanuts.
That'll keep it from shifting around in the box.
Okay, now, as we unfold this, I'm just going to show you how we folded this one a little differently. First of all, we folded it with the wrong sides together, and then you can see how we've butterflied this to make it fit the box. And so when you take it out, we'll get this on the wall so that you can see what that does. Okay, so now you can see on this one, we folded it so that the wrong sides were together. That means the hardest crease is now on the back of the quilt, and that we don't, because we butterflied that, you don't have those hard creases where we put it in the box and it laid there for quite a long time. Okay, now we're ready for quilt number 3.
You want to show how we've got the extra room here?
Yeah. And so this is a case where you probably should put some kind of padding in here to keep it from shifting around. Okay, this quilt has been folded with the diagonal fold. And I know that there are a number of people who tell you that this is the way you should fold them, but we find that it's really hard to get the creases out of these quilts. So we're just going to unfold it so you can see we just kept folding it in a triangle. All right, so you can see how hard these creases are when you fold it over and over and over on itself like that. Probably the only way to truly get those out is to reblock the quilt. We have even tried steaming a quilt that had these creases, and they absolutely do not come out when we have them hanging at the quilt show. Okay, so this is our next quilt. And I'm not sure who thought of this, but this is what people call the crumple method. And it's just been wadded up and thrown in a box. We'll hang it up so you can see what happens. And so when you hang this at the quilt show, you have just what we had, a crumpled mess, don't we? You've got wrinkles all the way through it, and believe me, those do not hang out. That's the crumple method. Okay, we have another one. All right.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Somebody forgot their plastic bag. You always want to put that plastic bag in here. Okay, so this one, again, we butterflied it in there. We also butterflied it here. We folded it one direction and we folded it the other direction. And so Andrea and I are going to use this one to show you how we fold a quilt. So let's just start from the very beginning. So we fold the quilts top to bottom. Why? Because that puts the very hardest crease that you're going to have from folding this quilt on the back of the quilt. All right, so the right side is out. And now we'll come over here and we'll just use this table, because at this point I'm going to set the box up here. Okay, so you can see I'm measuring the edge of the box so that I'm inside the edge of the box there, and my crease over on this side needs to be about right here. So we can take the quilt and we can fold it like this. Okay, now the logical thing would be to do is just fold it over this way. But instead, we're going to flip this whole thing over so that we can come back and fold it the other direction. Now again, we're going to use the box as a measuring tool, and we're going to butterfly this quilt and sometimes it may not end up exactly even. All right, so now before we put it in the box, let's measure. And it looks to me like it's going to fit in there, and it's going to be nicely and compact this way. At this point, we would put it in our plastic bag, and now it's ready to go into the box and sealed up. And of course, Andrea wants your paperwork, so it's the last thing that goes in the box, right?
Take to the outside of the plastic, that's right.
That's right. Okay, so now you'll remember that we had the first crease was right here in the very middle of the quilt. And you can see it has a little bit of a wrinkle right there. The hardest wrinkle is on the back though. And usually the weight of the quilt will now pull that wrinkle out while it hangs at the show. Before we ever get it open, it will have hung a couple days.
And if you're truly concerned, I've seen people put just a light tissue paper in that very first fold, and that always does the trick.
Okay, we have one more kind of folding or packing, and that is in a tube. And I can tell you that I've used rubber bands to hold this one in place. Makes it lots easier than those strings that we tie them with. So let's just unroll it. And again, you're going to see I have the right side of the quilt out, so the back. And why do we do that? It's because if we rolled it the other way, when you hang it on the curtain, it's going to cup this way. If you roll it with the back first on the inside, it's going to cup to the curtain, and that will straighten out the quilt during the quilt show, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. All right, and so obviously this one will not have any wrinkles in it. And you can see that I've used a swimming noodle. At the end of the summer is the perfect time to go buy these, because you can buy them for 50 cents or $1. Okay, and so obviously you can see we have absolutely no wrinkles in this quilt. And I will tell you, this quilt has some three-dimensional stuff in it. Often you may get these back, and we will have put a plastic bag over that, so that when we roll that, it rolls it in there nice and evenly. So if I were you, I would use one of two methods to ship my quilts. I would do it with wrong sides together, butterfly it to fit the box the long way, butterfly it to fit the box the other direction, put it in a bag, put in your paperwork, or put it in, roll it around a swim noodle. When we open a tube and it has a swim noodle in it, man, we're excited because we know that's going to roll really easy. And of course you can get boxes from FedEx and UPS, and some people use the plumbing pipe plastic to do their quilts when they ship them in a tube. Any of those works, but these are our two favorite methods, aren't they?
They are.
Okay. And so one of the things when you ship it in a tube, We had a quilt come in at our last show, and they had the neatest plastic bag for that.
Yes, they did.
They
It
took
fit perfectly.
they took an old shower. Well, I think it might have been a new shower curtain.
I think it was new.
But it could be an inexpensive shower curtain, and they made it into a little bit bigger than their tube. And the top where you would put the rings to hang the shower curtain, they ran a cord through that to tie it shut, and it fit that swim noodle perfectly.
Absolutely, it did.
Now, is there a difference when they ship it this method?
There is. There is a $10 packaging fee when you send it in a tube. I think it's well worth it when you see how the quilt hangs, but I just want you to be aware of that.
Well, the other thing that happens when they come in a tube is that we do not fold those quilts.
That's right. They're
You
never
know,
folded.
When they go into the judging room, they're laid flat on a table. When they come out of the judging room into where the photography is, they're laid flat on a table, and then they're hung during the show.
Right.
So that we're not putting wrinkles in there from having folded it.
Also, it's always the staff that handles the
yes.
rolled quilts, so
Yes.
you can be guaranteed it's always a staff
Yeah.
member that will take care of your quilt.
Yes, and you know, at the show, it takes a long time. It takes a lot longer for us to roll these quilts
Yes, it does.
than it does to pack them up and put them in a box. I take a team of people, and that's my task during takedown, is to roll quilts. Sometimes they have all the rest of the contest quilts down,
Yes.
and I'm still rolling. But we have a special team that does that, so we take special care of it, so it's worth that $10.
It is.
Now, tell people where they can find the rules and
Okay.
that they're available now.
Yes, you can find all the information on the contest at quiltweek.com/contest. You may also email me at andrea.ray@americanquilter.com, and I have some information that I send out specifically geared to people who are maybe entering the contest for the first time with more information. And anytime, give me a call. I'll be happy to help you with that entry.
So we can't wait to see your next quilts, and pack them either folded wrong sides together or put them in a tube, and we can't wait to share your quilts at AQS Quilt Week.